Eleven's secret connection to the monsters of the Upside Down is finally revealed in Season 4, with a huge twist. Yippee-ki-yay, movie lovers, I'm Jan, and this is the ending of Stranger Things Season 4 Part 1 Explained, plus predictions and theories for the second part and how to defeat Vecna. Spoilers of course, so take care. The fourth season kicks off in horrific fashion, revealing that in 1979 there was a brutal massacre at the Hawkins lab, with 11 the only apparent child survivor. This sets up the idea that Elle was the one who carried out the attack, and as the season unfolds and we see her smash bully Angela in the face at the skating rink, it's implied that 11 was exacting revenge on 2 and the other test subjects who bullied her.
What if I'm the monster?
11's memories of that fateful day, though, are missing, so when she reunites with Papa and Dr. Owens at the Nina Project, she's able to re-experience her early days at the lab and remembers one of the orderlies who was friendly to her. It turns out that he's actually number 1, and his special abilities were being suppressed via an implant in his neck. Unaware of this, 11 pulls the implant out, and he then uses his powers to lethal effect on a team of guards who've come to catch them. One also snaps the final guard's neck, just like 11 did in Season 1.
We're alike, you and I.
11 then discovers it was 1 who slaughtered everyone at Hawkins' lab that day, and the reveal is a double twist because it also turns out that he's Victor Creel's son, Henry. The Creels had moved to Hawkins in search of a fresh start for their troubled boy, who teachers and doctors had all described as broken. There he took an interest in a nest of black widow spiders in the house, and his admiration for them as predators and gods of our world points to his megalomaniac desire to rule over and change the world. What's especially interesting is that Henry already possessed powerful abilities before he even ended up in Hawkins' lab, and they don't appear to be the result of any experiments. As he developed his psychic powers, he found he could reach into people's memories and discover some of the terrible things they'd done or experienced in their lives. This is similar to 11's abilities to perform remote viewing on subjects across huge distances, such as the Russian spy in Season 1, or when she reached into the memories of Billy's abusive childhood in Season 3. Unlike 11 though, the Creel boy decided to use his power to punish his family for what he saw as their transgressions, killing his mother and sister, leaving the blame on his father, who ended up locked away for murder. Henry was secretly sent to Hawkins' lab, where Papa decided to exploit him to recreate his exceptional powers in others, branding him with a number 1 tattoo. Like many interesting villains, the show may be trying to elicit some sympathy for him when we see how the lab appears to be abusing him with electroshock torture. However, given 1's murder of his family and indiscriminate massacre at the lab, he's clearly delusional in his thinking that he's doing good. And when he asks Elle, Darth Vader style, to join him to take down the evil Emperor Brenner,
You are better than they are. That is why you frighten him. We could reshape the world, remake it. Join me.
No.
as they face off, Elle tries to summon the power to resist him, using the advice one gave her to recall a memory of something that made her sad and angry, something similar to what Carly recommended to Eleven in season 2.
I want you to find something that angers you.
So it seems that one may have manipulated Carly as well. The advice, though, isn't enough for the young Elle to withstand One's incredibly strong powers, and as he's about to kill her, 11 has a memory of her own birth come flooding into her brain.
I love you.
Instead of anger, it's this memory of love which gives 11 the strength to reverse One's imminent victory, and she smashes him through the glass into the wall behind and follows it with a nice little superhero landing. By the way, Brenner had already advised not to give in to anger a few days earlier.
If you allow anger or emotion to invade your thoughts, you will fail.
The young Elle then dusts him into the Upside Down, just like she did with the Demogorgon in season 1. Both scenes are also an X-Men Easter egg to Jean Grey, who defeated the villain Mastermind in this way. And the comic book in which that happened was specifically referenced in the opening scene of the pilot episode.
I'll take your X-Men 134!
It was also a cool detail how 11 sent One crashing through the mirrored glass into the room behind, foreshadowing how moments later she literally sends him through the wall into another dimension. And as he tumbles down, bursts of lightning strike his body, transforming him into Vecna. This big reveal that One is Vecna more or less confirms a number of fan theories that the original test subject at Hawkins' lab is connected to the Upside Down and its various villains like the Mind Flayer or the Demogorgon. And similar to how the Mind Flayer monster in Season 3 was created by melting and joining together the bodies of its victims, One mentions a couple of times how he seems to have absorbed the people he's killed.
With each life I took, I grew stronger. They were becoming a part of me. They're not gone, 11. They're still with me. In here.
In fact, Vecna sometimes asks his targets or victims to join him as he tries to feed off their misery or sorrow, which reminds me a little of how Pennywise feeds off people's fear. Vecna's also connected to the Upside Down's hive mind, giving him the ability to spy with any of the monsters under his control. This is similar to how the Mind Flayer used Will as a spy in Season 2 and Billy as a spy and pawn in Season 3. So when Steve, Nancy, Robin and Eddie cycle through the Upside Down on their way to find the gate where Chrissy died, a demo bat spots them and screeches, and we see Vecna reacting as he can now track what the group are up to. This is why when Nancy tries to go through the gate to return to the real world, before she can get across, Vecna is able to intercept her by entering her consciousness and putting her under his curse. When Nancy falls into Vecna's lair, we can see how the villain preys on his victims' fear and guilt over the traumatic events in their lives. So, for Nancy, she falls into the swimming pool at Steve's house where Barb was killed by the Demogorgon in Season 1. This plays on Nancy's feelings of guilt about how Barb died alone at the pool while she was hooking up with Steve inside. Nancy is now mentally trapped by Vecna, akin to what happened to Max when she visited Billy's grave. In that case, when Dustin and Co played Max's favourite song, it broke through to her, creating an opening, an opportunity to escape. Max combines that with recalling happy memories of her time in Hawkins, which gives her the strength to break free of Vecna's grip. I expect Nancy may need some similar help, given that Vecna may also prey on her guilt over her rekindled feelings for Steve, perhaps accusing her of being unfaithful to Jonathan. Okay, we have to talk about Hopper now that Joyce and Murray have broken him out of the Russian prison, and there's a huge clue in Season 4 about how they'll return home now that Yuri's plane has crashed. Just before that, I want to thank the sponsor of this video, Skillshare. I often get asked how I discover all the details and Easter eggs in my videos, and a lot comes down to understanding the nuts and bolts of filmmaking. Skillshare have an amazing array of classes where you can learn all the techniques and tricks that go into creating the look of incredible shots like this one in Stranger Things. For example, this course on cinematography explains in just 30 minutes how a professional filmmaker sets the mood, tone and feel of a scene. And this screenwriting class will help you appreciate and learn how to write a mind-bending, plot-driven film like Arrival. Skillshare also has a ton of other creative classes you can take, from photography to graphic design, video editing and character animation. So if you want to pivot your career or level up your existing skills, Skillshare is the perfect resource to beef up your CV and learn a new side hustle. How about this course on how to launch yourself on TikTok, for example? As a very special offer, the first 1,000 people to use the link or my code FLICKS will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Click the link below to get 1 month completely free. Okay, back to Hop. Although I'm sure we're all relieved he and Dimitri survived their encounter with the Demogorgon, there's still the pesky problem of how on earth they're going to get back to the US. Yuri's plane crash-landed, so there's no easy way to get back to North America. However, there's a big clue on one of the Season 4 posters which shows Hopper, Joyce and Murray approaching a gate to the Upside Down inside the Russian prison. We know from Season 3 that the Russians opened a gate themselves. In the Season 4 sneak peek, there's a shot of Hop going through a door with a flaming weapon, and I think this is him returning to the prison in search of the gate and armed with fire in case they encounter the Demogorgon. In fact, there's a special Volume 2 teaser on Netflix that plays right after the end of the 7th episode credits, which reveals even more Hopper details. He enters a room with caged Demogorgons, though it's not clear whether they're alive or dead. And then he and Murray stumble upon a glass box filled with black particulates, which appear to be like the black mist the Mind Flayer used to possess Will in the 2nd season. An interesting detail about Hopper's past came up this season when he revealed new details about the tragic backstory of his daughter's death. Hop explains to Dimitri that when he was in Vietnam, he was heavily exposed to Agent Orange, a chemical used by the US against the Viet Cong during the war. And Hopper goes on to explain the horrors of what happened when veterans from the war later had children.
Kids born, stillborn, dead in the womb. them. Crooked spines, eyes popped out.
That last point is especially chilling because it's the same way that one or Vecna murders his victims, twisting their limbs and gouging their eyes out. And given the importance of the Rainbow Room in the Stranger Things mythology, it can't just be a coincidence that the Duffer Brothers came up with this particular storyline, as Agent Orange is classified by the US military as a rainbow herbicide. In other words, it was used in warfare, which reminds me of the times that 11, a product of the Rainbow Room, has been referred to as a weapon over the seasons.
She's a weapon! Her baby's a weapon of fighting the commies.
In fact, the unethical use of chemicals for military and other purposes is a recurring theme in the series. The Hawkins lab was part of Project MK Ultra, a real-life CIA illegal operation that experimented with various psychedelic drugs and other chemicals on subjects as part of biological warfare research. And in Season 3, both human and rat victims of the Mind Flayer consumed toxic amounts of fertilizer and chemicals so that their bodies would be physically weakened and they would break down and melt easily before becoming part of the spider monster. Hopper feels a huge sense of guilt about the fact he knew he'd been exposed to Agent Orange and still decided to have a baby with his wife.
I knew the risks, but I hid them.
And he believes he sentenced Sarah to death because of this.
Everyone I love, I hurt. I wasn't cursed. I am the curse.
And Hop's words here have clear parallels with how his adopted daughter Elle sees herself as a monster at various points as well.
I am a monster.
Hopper's feelings of guilt are likely to come back to haunt him in the second part of this season, as Vecna could easily put him under a curse by reminding him of this. I also think that Eddie could very well end up sacrificing himself for the group by the end of Volume 2. He specifically brought up the point that he's not normally very brave.
Outside of D&D, I am no hero. I see danger and I just turn heel and run.
However, in the Season 4 trailer, there's footage of him playing his guitar on top of a trailer in the Upside Down with a set of loudspeakers playing at maximum volume.
Sorry I'm late, sweetheart. You're beautiful.
This may be to blast out music in an effort to break Nancy out of her trance, but it's also very dangerous as it will inevitably attract attention from the Demobats and in turn Vecna. And in the Volume 2 teaser, there's footage that reveals Nancy seemingly free with Robin and Steve wearing camouflage. Some more shots in the trailer and Volume 2 teaser we haven't seen yet are this one of Erica in the Upside Down and another of Dustin, who's also in the alternate dimension. There's this shot of 11 standing in front of the Nina project as it blows up, and Mrs. Wheeler and Holly terrified of something. Comment below if you have any theories on what might be going on in these shots. There's also the mystery of Will's painting.
Will is painting a lot, but he won't show me what he's working on. Maybe it is for a girl. I think there is someone he likes, because he has been acting weird.
What's that? It's nothing. It's just this painting I've been working on.
Will also grabs it in the 4th episode before they have to escape with Argyle, so it's clearly important. We know Will has been possessed by the Mind Flayer previously, and he drew a map of all the vast tunnel network the monster had created beneath Hawkins, so I strongly suspect this painting will hold a crucial clue to defeating Vecna. 11 regaining her powers is also surely crucial to defeating the villain, and now that she's remembered what really happened at the lab, perhaps she'll get some more answers from Brenner. She did briefly regain her powers at one point, but then they immediately disappeared.
You didn't think it would be that easy, did you?
I don't understand.
I do.
Papa.
Daughter.
The 8th and next episode is titled Papa, so I expect we'll get some answers and progress with 11 there. There are a stack more details in Season 4 we need to discuss, which I'll do in my next video, so make sure you subscribe and hit the bell to get notified as soon as that's ready. So movie lovers, what do you think of Season 4 so far? And what are your predictions for the final 2 episodes out on the 1st of July? And if you liked this video, do leave a thumbs up, I really appreciate it.
Bitchin', right?
Yeah, bitchin'.
Tap left for my next Stranger Things theory and Easter egg video. Thanks for enjoying Stranger Things with me and hope you have a marvellous movie-loving week. Yippee-ki-yay, movie lovers!